Well, that was an interesting gathering, or whatever it was. Saw a lot of things that I've never seen before. I've seen piercings in places I've never seen them before. And I know I told some people I was going to go for a lap dance, but I actually came home to poke at Power Director, because when I made that video response last night with 3 of me, I actually intended it to be a little bit longer, but I had a really hard time getting all of the sizes and positions and widths and heights of the 3 images to be exactly the same. So I actually kept it to just a 16-second chunk, because in Power Director, when you have a PiP object and you're trying to clone yourself, right? You basically have a PiP object with a mask on it so that only part of it is visible. But particularly if you're working with like a complicated background like that. Oh God, love the autofocus on this thing. If you're working with a complicated background, it can be really hard to get the PiP the picture-in-picture objects to match up. I mean, it can be hard to get the different videos to all match up, because in Power Director itself, when you position a picture-in-picture object, the only way, I mean, there's no like automatic function to like make a PiP object the exact same size as the background. You have to like grab the edges and drag it out to the sides, but it's impossible to get the size of a PiP object to be exactly the same as the background video just by dragging the sliders on the top and the bottom. So I went poking around. Now Power Director saves its projects in these files that end with .pds. And I thought, well, maybe there's a way to edit those files other than in Power Director itself. So, let's see. First thing I did was open one of them up in something called Note-Tab Lite, which I've used for about 10 years now to edit all kinds of stuff, because it's usually okay for editing Japanese. And, let's see. And so I've been using it for more or less the past 10 years now. It sometimes trips up on Japanese folder names, and I'm not entirely sure if it's good for editing Unicode. It's okay for editing basic Shift.js, but maybe not so good for Unicode. But anyways, I had no idea what sort of format these PDS files were. And I opened one up, and it looked like a bunch of XML, which is sort of like a version of HTML that was made complicated enough that people couldn't read it. So let me give you a brief look at what it looks like in Note-Tab. So that XML is sort of like HTML, but more complicated. And one thing, let's see, Note-Tab did tell me is that the format is Unicode. One slight problem with Note-Tab, though, you see, the file is saved with everything on one line, so I thought I'd split up these tags to put each tag on a separate line. In Note-Tab with Unicode, you can do searches, but you can't do replaces. So I went from Unicode. Oh, good, look, tunnel effect. Wee. Yeah, okay, where was I? Pulling back, pulling in again. Oh, wow. Okay. Where was I? Hidemaru. Hidemaru is a shareware text editor that I honestly need to pay for because it's really good. Yeah, this is the warning. Why haven't you paid yet? I'm sorry. I promise I will, because this is a really good program. Hey, I thought it... Oh, there it goes. Yeah, I'll pay. So I opened up. Now this is the file what it originally looked like, all in one line. Let me turn off the line orikaishi, the word wrap, line wrap, whatever it's called. Width of the window. and it's still all in one big line. So what I did is I looked at all the places where the tags met, and I replaced those with basically greater than sign, and then a carriage return sign, and then a carriage return, and then left or less than sign. And when I did that, I got this. Well, yeah. Okay, I got this. So it has each tag on one line, so it's a little bit easier to read. And oddly enough, PowerDirector can read and write this format. So let me turn on the line wrap there. Now, what I did is I looked for the name of the file that I was pasting in as a PiP object, and the first one I found is this clones1 here, clones1.wmv, and I started looking through all of this text down here for anything that would tell me about where the PiP object was or how big it was supposed to be. And in this tag name linear here, where was it? Goodness. Yeah, right here. There's something here called center X. And that used to be 0.49 something or other, but I changed it to 0.5. And next there's something called center Y, which was also 0.497 something, but I set that to 0.5. And there were two more, one called width, and that used to be 1.07 or something, but I just set it to just 1, and height also used to be 1.0 something or other, blah blah blah, and I shortened that off to 1, and I saved the file in Hidemaru and opened it up in PowerDirector, and all the PiP objects were lined up perfectly. Oh yeah, I did that for clones1.wmv and clones2.wmv. I found those 4 fields in the linear tag: center X, center Y, width, and height, and I set them to 0.5, 0.5, 1, and 1 just by editing the raw file. And by doing that, I was able to get the PiP objects to match up perfectly. Because even if you have a tripod, if you use just PowerDirector to try to pull and drag the edges of the... I mean, I'm sorry if I'm missing something. I mean, I'm sorry there might be a function in PowerDirector to do that, but I mean, I haven't been able to find it, like snap to edges or anything like that. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be anything that lets you do that. So if you want to clone yourself and you want to make sure everything lines up just right, Hidemaru, it's a Japanese program. There's got to be some equivalent out there in English that lets you do searches and replaces. But yeah, you can manually edit PowerDirector project files to tweak the positioning of picture-in-picture objects. So hopefully somebody else will find that a little bit useful. I'm sorry if this is a bit geeky for everyone. Now, how do I stop this thing? I'm lost track. There we go.